this is, by honesty, the most intricate, well interwoven incidents that I have looked at. It's so convoluted with so many moving parts. But again, I'm looking at it from all angles. Somehow this incident with Keith Richards came only in the UK case. She said that all of this was happening when they were filming the Keith Richards documentary. The declaration makes the date pretty clear that this was March 8th. I mean, this was the reason why there was even an argument that there was two incidents. The 8th of March 2013 was one incident, and the 22nd of March was the other incident. With the cross-examination, Camille doesn't know exactly what date this happened. Depp's accuser doesn't know exactly what date this happened. Weirdly, she doesn't know when this happened, where the amount of times that she was hit on the face with multiple times with rings could have occurred.
You don't know how many times he hit you in the face.
That's correct.
So Mr. Depp hit you in the face multiple times while he was wearing rings on this occasion, correct?
Which occasion in March are you referencing? You weren't
The
specific.
testimony that you gave on day 15 of this trial, March of 2013. You weren't specific as to the day.
There were several incidents.
The one where he hit you several times in the face.
Sorry, just so I understand better. There were several incidents in March. Which one are you asking me about?
The time that he hit you several times in the face wearing rings.
Well, he pretty much
March
always.
of 2013.
Right. What are you asking me? I'm sorry.
He was wearing rings on that occasion?
I pretty much always knew him to wear rings.
Okay, let's please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 170A. You testified that this is the picture you took after that incident, right, Ms. Heard?
Yes, that was one where he grabbed me.
And hit you in the face so many times that you don't remember.
That's correct.
And there's no injuries to your face in this picture, are there?
Yep. Not that this picture shows.
And there's no
There
medical
wasn't any.
records reflecting that you sought treatment after this alleged incident either,
I did not need to go to the doctor at the time.
Wait, what?
despite
Then they
hitting
weren't
you
that
several
bad.
times that you lost count with
Yep.
rings on on his fingers.
That's correct. I did not seek medical attention. Other than my therapist.
Oh,
You testified to another incident in March where Mr. Depp hit you while he was wearing a lot of rings.
Yes, ma'am.
And you testified you felt like your lip went through your teeth and it got a little blood on the wall. There isn't a picture of you with injuries after that alleged incident, is there?
I don't know if I've seen one. I can't recall. There are a lot of pictures.
The evidence proves as such from the closing submissions in the UK case that she even said to her mom, no, he was not being violent with me, it's just what she said. Depp, however, in his third witness statement, addresses this in paragraph 11. As you can see, Depp recollects that it was about a partner that she had denied being in a relationship. Depp denies Whitney even coming over for the 8th of March. The 22nd and 23rd of March respective incidents only came about on day 11 of the UK trials. What likely happened behind this incident is that had a fight with an ex on the 8th of March based on what they both had testified to. The most important part about this is Johnny Depp did not allege violence from Amber Heard. It was obscenities being screamed at him, etc., and him retreating and dropping the allegation that was made against her. Now, that is really important to highlight because they're saying that he dabbled all these incidents, but this doesn't seem to hold up to scrutiny because there is no denial and attacking the person that did it and saying, no, they did this to me, or they were the ones that was perpetrating this violence. For this particular incident, he said that they had an argument. He raised a grievance. She screamed obscenities. She got angry, called him insecure, and just dropped the issue, which does seem like reality because that is what her claim has always been. He's insecure when she is with other men and women, and this seems to add up to that because this is the first time it's being brought up. That would make sense that she would actually say that in that moment when she's being inquired about her ex-boyfriend. I think it is much more likely that the only possible truth behind this incident is they had an argument that escalated from the ex, from what had occurred in regards to the Wino Forever incidents, that if there was an ex in the picture, and what could have been likely there is there was jealousy brewing over that and it's now spilling over to this particular incident. Depp had also made her feel insecure. If you look at the evidence around the time frame, there was a talk of them going public and him not really budging for, as it seems it wasn't happening. If we are to believe the truth of those therapists, statements, they were not going public, and this really bothered her. So for her now to then turn around and be asked about the guy that she could potentially be seeing, we don't know. She said that they hadn't. This escalated the fight. I cannot discount that bruise. It does have metadata. I do admit this does present a bit of issues because, again, it was admitted into the UK case. It was sent to her mother, and it does say 2 weeks ago, which would land it on the 8th of March to the 23rd of March. The bruise would maybe still be there because it's untreated. But what is really bothering me is the accounts of being beaten in the face so much, being punched that blood drew from your lips, cut lip, all of those things. That bothers me because there is no evidence of that in the picture. I understand that 2 weeks later these things do heal, so why haven't her arm healed? I'm not a medical expert. I can't answer that question. So the next best thing that I decided to do was jump on the internet and find out, hey, what was she doing around this time from the 8th to the 22nd? So in my little search, I've came across these pictures from her own fan site, and the first thing I was looking at was her arm, whether this bruise was there or not. Apparently it was taken on the 18th of March, but it was added on the 22nd of March. There is absolutely no bruising that could be seen that's indicative of the one that is experienced on the 22nd. The text messages as well, based on what was presented in the UK case, was quite skewed. In fact, I really want to know what she was rushing Whitney for, because to me now it seems like it's just an exaggeration, that if there was no violence that actually occurred, what was the rush to get Whitney over? What was she trying to stop? Maybe a potential violence. That's fine. That's plausible. Whitney came in approximately 3:08, 3:12 or something around that time. Around 4:21, Amber Heard messages Whitney actually asking her how is it? Just tell him I love him, please. So sending this message, it doesn't really make sense based on what she was alleging about him being violent and being drunk, but she doesn't actually say this in the US case, and it's just left for you to try and figure out whether something happened or not. But there was no actual incident of physical violence against her on the 22nd for the VA case. It's actually not registered at all. You can read through it, not said at all, not even mentioned. But let's continue on with the timeline. At 7:18 p.m, Whitney does message Amber Heard saying, "Shut up, don't thank me for anything, I wish I could feel my face." To which Amber replies at 7:19 saying, "Ha ha ha ha," laughing off what I presume, based on the context of what she laid out on the table, that was at, I believe, 2:30 p.m. on the same day. She laid that out on the table because now with this context, it seems like Depp and Whitney were always Whitney was always planning to come over. I mean, she already has a tampon applicator on the table. I don't actually believe that Depp used this, but that's just my opinion. I haven't seen any evidence to suggest. I don't think even he attests to even using a tampon applicator. But continuing with the timeline, at 7:33 p.m, Whitney messages Amber Heard that Kyle is driving her home. This is clear because she's done cocaine while she was with Depp. And like Depp, and this must be highlighted, Depp actually said for this particular incident, she was doing cocaine. That's why I infer cocaine, because of these messages. Because why else would you be driving? She drove. She didn't get a lift to the place. She drove from her premises to this place and was a bit late. So why would you drive all the way there and be needing to take a lift home by another driver? The only reason is you're either intoxicated or drugged up. Based on all this evidence, this ended up being exaggerated on epic proportions. Evidence around this trip is not as scarce as one may believe. The incident supposedly happened in June, with another incident on a plane following happening in the same month. There were a lot of characters for this particular incident that this case does hold a lot of weight. with the absence of documentary evidence, such as communications, such as pictures, all of those things. But there's so much around this incident that you can actually ascertain what could have happened on that fateful day. Raquel Pennington, we're going to start with her, a friend of Amber Heard since 2003. She testifies that Depp, Amber Heard, Whitney, Enriquez, Nathan Holmes, Britney Eustace, and Kelly Milano were all here. Raquel, also known as Rocky, has testified that he was at the same campfire in a circle, and she was 6 to 10 feet away from, or close to Depp, I should say. And it was Kelly Sue that Depp became angry at and aggressive towards. This was all she saw in regards to the campsite. She does expound more on the next day of the depot with relatively the same details. She testifies that the following morning when she went to the trailer, that they supposedly were not there. The door was open and she just went in and saw the trailer in disarray, to which she describes was she saw the light fixture has been knocked off, things were also thrown, cushions were off the couch, etc. Christina is the next up, and what she accounts at this scene is near impossible to actually have happened. She does say that Depp apologizing profusely to Amber Heard for what had happened, that he's sorry that he would not let out the monster again. It is important to note that Amber Heard does not even claim that Depp was apologizing or even calling himself a monster. So I am very intrigued as to how she heard that. In fact, I'm so intrigued that I would pay $7 million to actually hear this out. She also earlier testified that the night previously that she was the only one that was stone cold sober and went to bed early, as she did not get to see the events that unfolded at the campfire. That must be noted. She did fear fighting had been happening. She said that she had overheard shouting from the other trailer. Now, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp both attest to shouting, and from there, must note that Christina Sexton actually said that she saw bodyguards ran over in order to actually stop the fight. She also said that the bodyguards were at the scene when Depp was apologizing profusely. That's going to be very important later on. We're now bringing Whitney Heard or Enriquez into Hicksville. Must be noted now, if it's not clear already, that Raquel Pennington doesn't actually testify to Depp grabbing Kelly Sue Milano's hand, and also no one else sees this. Whitney does actually confess to being too drunk. Everyone does actually agree that Depp was playing songs at a campfire. Like Sexton, she does retire early and she went to bed. The next morning, she does attest to seeing cleanup. We're gonna get into the cleanup part later because she doesn't really expound more on this. She just says that she went to a trailer and it looked like a bomb went off. This only leaves Morgan Knight, which was the manager of Hicksville. Now, and it's very important here, the UK case was quite not as popular as the US case because that's how he found out. There was a tweet about it and he just responded, and he was contacted by Depp's team, and the rest was history. After the trial, Morgan Knight actually took onto Twitter to actually further give his account of what actually happened that night. I have to be fair, his public perception of Amber Heard, he doesn't really like her at all. He does believe she's an abuser. But anyway, in the Twitter exchanges that was going on with pretty much Amber Heard supporters, I just don't know why he chose to recount his events to these people, because they're not going to change their minds. They're already set up and they believe that this woman is just innocent. There's no point trying to convince them. But as Morgan Knight tried to do on Twitter on the 6th of October 2022, quote tweeting a tweet from a now deactivated I Believe You A account. In response, Morgan Knight just says JD only reacted to the abuse he suffered with abusive language of his own. This doesn't mean he's an instigator. A likely 50-plus-year-old user that goes by the name of Veracity decided to pose some questions of our own to him. It must be said that where the user was hung up was the initial tweet that not even Amber's counsel used as a viable defense or anything like that, because one can see that this is just a clear summation of what happened that night, that he literally was not with them all night, obviously, because if he was with them all night, that would mean that he saw and witnessed the cavity search that was being... Let me move on. So as you can see from this Twitter conversation that goes back and forth in detailing who was where and what was happening at the same time, Morgan Knight does testify to being at the scene, and there was basically playing campfire songs. Again, everyone attests to Depp playing the songs. The one thing that is a testament to Morgan's account, something that was very interesting that he doesn't detail, but was detailed by Raquel, which was him being rude or even him talking about Kelly Sue. So with the absence of Kelly Sue's testimony or ability to even testify, only Rocky and Morgan Knight's accounts are to be relied on what happened at that campfire. Both witnesses did not claim to see Depp grab Kelly Sue's arm. This supersedes Amber's claim and was likely an exaggeration of what happened. Amber also linked the same occurrence of Depp grabbing a woman's arm in another incident, but this time it was on a plane. But for this event, only one text to Paul Bettany on the 11th of July 2013 seemingly either makes reference to this particular event or the incident we are about to get into. What was actually going on between this incident that Morgan, who was there for 45 minutes, ranging 45 minutes to an hour, as he basically put it, could not see all of these events unfold. With the absence of him even accounting for Kelly Sue or any violence of sort, it does raise the question, what did the one player in all of this even say? Because we know what Amber Heard said, but we don't know what Depp has said. And Depp has always said that in regards to this incident, that he was protecting Miss Heard's honor. What does the UK case have to say about this in a confidential annex that could be found in the unsealed documents number 5. After inspection, accounts of the cavity search was found, including accounts of her not realizing at first that this was SA. Depp's reply could be found on his third witness statement. Paragraph 15 admits to Amber Heard doing MDMA and mushrooms, mostly drank alcohol. He explains here that he observed Kelly Sue running her hands all over Amber's body very sexually, to no objections by Amber Heard. Based on the context of him being already jealous of the exes, it would make sense why this would provoke him as well. He alleges also that this incident did not occur at the campfire where he played the guitar, but at nightfall when they were looking around the place. He claims the girls were congregating and this was when Kelly Sue began to touch Amber Heard that was sexual and aggressive. This does make a bit of sense as to why everyone else did actually witness Depp playing the guitar, including Morgan Knight, but they don't witness the arm grabbing or even heard what he said. So it is more likely than not that this incident would not have happened, and this is where Morgan Knight is key to this. If this was to have occurred the way that Depp is saying truthfully, Morgan Knight would not have witnessed the arm holding. Also note that Rocky did not testify in the UK regarding this incident. He did testify for other incidents, but just not this one. He denies the rest of the allegations by Amber and further asserts that he was being harangued by Amber and screaming at him. Sexton's account of hearing the screaming does check out. I accept that part of Sexton's account. I just think the bodyguard was an over exaggeration, because again, Amber doesn't even allege bodyguards even coming in to even calm down the fight, and if they did, the essay would not have happened the way that Amber is describing it. That's just from my point of view. It wouldn't have been like that, because it would have been interrupted and Amber would have made sure to note that the bodyguards were there. Depp also claims he did not do MDMA as it has not much effect on him, and again corroborates Sexton seeing what she saw in the powdered bags, etc. Most interesting of all Sexton's account was paragraph 30, 31 and 33, where she said she heard what the bodyguards had actually said, and on 31 where she claims she was helping cleaning up. And with this helping cleaning up, it corroborates Whitney's account. She said in the UK that she heard them, and there was a conversation from Rocky that Johnny had grabbed the women because he didn't like her hugging Amber Heard, and said something along the lines of breaking her wrist. The flirting or affection was corroborated by Depp on day 2 of Cross, as Depp himself does claim she was putting her hands on Amber Heard, but with minimal corroboration at the campfire of the incident even occurring, because this was supposed to occur there and it just didn't occur there, and according to Depp it was supposed to occur when they were looking around the place. So for this retelling, the only corroboration that helps Amber Heard, if possible, is the haranguing claim, as let's be honest, there's no dispute But if she felt that this was frivolous, she is actually entitled to be angry, and that would make sense, as in the therapy notes with Bernie Jacobs, 13th of May 2013 entry says that he was jealous about her filming with other men. Though there's nothing alleged by her regarding films, though self-reported, it does seem to fit JD's account of the haranguing happening as a result of him confronting her about it. However, Morgan Knight's testimony does really blow this case apart, and in my honest opinion, it does really support Depp's account a lot more. So let me explain. Due to Morgan's account of the aftermath of the SA claim incident, Depp's denials of the claim of him even destroying the place, this does have merit. He claimed that he did not trust the trailer and that he went to the manager about the light fixture he had punched. He reiterated that he didn't go with security to get the manager, and the manager had fixed the light fixture. This is Depp claiming this. In the UK case in 2020, again, Morgan Knight didn't testify in the UK. He was a rebuttal witness in the US. Connolly, who was the only security guard on that night, he denies going to see both Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, and with the absence of Amber Heard's testimony to any security detail even appearing, Sexton's account is severely undermined and really pretty much at this point discarded. Morgan corroborates by accounting for the bill of it being $62. He went on to detail what would actually match Depp's UK testimony 10-minute window. Say what you want in regards to Morgan Knight saying, how they let anyone just run in and pretend to be at the trial, with everybody except for Whitney saying that the light fixture was broken. It is more likely that the light fixture was the only broken part of that trailer, and everyone else was just exaggerating the event for whatever reasons. Don't care for the motivation. Nonetheless, those are the facts.
I had to turn off the testimony a couple times because the Paul Bettany moment where they called him a drug buddy, it was like, you leave your body, because it was like that was just such a cheap shot. And because I was there for a guy, and it was the same thing. They came after me because it's triangulation. You want to separate the target from their friends so they don't have a support system. There's no witnesses who can come forward and say, no, it was the other way around. He didn't abuse her. We saw her do things to him. They want to get those people away. It's too much trouble. And I had to stop, and I walk around my kitchen island. I don't know why, but you have to move to get back in your body. And I came back and I started again, but I was just like, that dude is not part of this. He didn't ask to be a part of this. He was just trying to support a friend. Don't do that. That right there is abuse through the courts.
So then I'm going to jump to, and it's not much of a jump, to June 26, 2013. There was a plane ride to Russia with Johnny. Well, tell the jury about that particular event.
Well, that was the first and last time I ever decided it would be a decent idea to do drugs with Johnny. I did MDMA with him on the plane.
This is a new one.
I was very against, obviously, the cocaine.
This is not part of the canon.
A problem. I was very much against him using cocaine. I was against the drinking, supportive of the sobriety. I had done MDMA before. I thought it's a lovey drug. It's it's like a kind of, I never knew anyone to
very
get
opposed to
violent
drugs,
on
except
it.
when I do them.
And
So what happened?
we took MDMA. I took a capsule, and Johnny took several. I didn't count, but it's very different when you see someone take one versus a handful of something. But nothing seemed to set any alarm bells off, and things were going fine until
Handful of pills didn't
until the flight attendant got
This is
involved.
awful.
Flight attendant came by, was engaging with us. The flight attendant, Johnny offered her some. She, of course, said no. And then after some back and forth between them, Johnny convinced her that it would be fine. So she acquiesce and took MDMA with us. And within, a few minutes go by, and the same thing happened that happened on the mushrooms at Hicksville with the woman, Kelly Sue, who I've told you about. Flight attendant got friendly with me, but just friendly, just like MDMA friendly, was
just cavity search
I'm
friendly.
A woman, he's a man, so she was
How
naturally.
do you know what MDA friendly is?
Tell the jury what MDMA friendly is,
sat on
Amber.
the arm of the chair I was sitting in.
From your
Tell us
one
about
time
your
of doing
cuddle
it.
parties.
I mean, after all, she's on drugs, and
The cuddle puddle.
Johnny grabs her hand and tells her not to touch me, and she kind of reacts, grabbed her by the wrist and slammed it down on the table. And
I called it.
And I remember thinking, I've heard this before. Almost as soon as we get into the hotel room, Johnny's accusing me of effectively having engaged that, caused that. I, of course, deny it, point out what I thought was obvious. At one point, Johnny just shoves me, just shoves me hard. And I fall back onto this glass table. I catch myself on the table. I'm trying to stand up, literally. And I'm in this hotel room trying to do my best to fight mostly the verbal accusations, but also I try to stay on my feet. At some point, Johnny whacks me in the face.
Whacks you?
I remember kind of crying and feeling, I went into the bathroom. I came out at some point because bodyguard Jerry Judge was in the hall. And I don't recall seeing Johnny in the hallway, but I remember seeing Jerry Judge.
Convenient that dead Jerry Judge is now one of her
nose.
witnesses.
And holds out his handkerchief, like a cloth handkerchief. And I went inside the room.
What, if any, injury did you have?
I had a little blood coming out of my nose. I didn't feel it at the time until Jerry Jerry let me know.
Let's cast our minds back to that timeline in part 1. In the 2016 article by the Daily Mirror, it was reported that Amber Heard and Johnny Depp had an explosive bust-up in a private jet that led the actress cowering in the bathroom. Apparently, Depp had drowned in booze and smoked weed when on board. This incident is now filtering through both Tokyo and Russia, as she has now made allegations for both these events now.
Heard. This is a picture of you and Mr. Depp in Russia, correct?
That's correct.
And this is you and Mr. Depp in Russia for the Lone Ranger dinner, correct?
It was a dinner function.
Destroyed.
You have no visible injuries to your face, do you?
None that you can see.
None that you can see.
Even though Mr. Depp whacked you in the face so hard that your nose bled?
He did.
While wearing chunky big rings, right?
That's correct.
If any of these jurors have been punched with a ring, it's over.
She also never alleged this particular incident in the UK, and again, Johnny doesn't even bring up this event, nor does he even receive questions regarding this event from Amber Heard's counsel. What's even more interesting, that is in a therapist note that she alleged documented abuse from 2011 also doesn't document this that could have possibly jogged her memory one way or the other. I am not saying that she should do this for every single alleged event. I am just saying she said she did, and it wasn't allowed in.
When is the first time you were called upon to provide a detailed accounting of as many times as
they're
you
trying
could
to get ahead
recall
of
physical
her testimony
and sexual
being
abuse
inconsistent?
by Mr. Depp?
A few months ago, February in 2022, this year.
When you were
But the deposition's
asked
the full
to
testimony.
provide those, what did you do to be able to prepare that accounting, that full accounting?
Elaine's
I
already
looked at my
flustered.
therapist notes. I had the benefit of those notes, which we had received in February, as well as I reviewed calendars, photos, text messages, my journals,
This
my
opens the door.
diaries, of which there were many. I put all of those together.
Notes,
It took
calendars,
a lot of
photos.
time to be able to, adequately refresh my recollection and fill in the details over the course of the 5 years we were together.
Okay.
But
Now,
her
there's one
memory
more.
is
You
based on her
also
therapist
provided
notes,
a
is what she's saying, and
declaration
that's not
in this case
helpful.
early on Do you recall that, trying to move the case to California?
Christina?
Yes, there was a declaration in 2019.
With the plane, one of the things is that all of those, like the flight attendants, would be like logged. You're not flying in a plane without your name being recorded.
Absolutely.
And they're spending millions on this case, right?
Yeah.
Like literal millions of dollars. There's no way that they haven't tracked this person down if it actually happened and gotten testimony. So I'm going, all right, so we're going to see this flight attendant, really blow things open, because there's no way that an NDA isn't going to hold up against a subpoena. And I'm sitting there waiting for this flight attendant to come in and, tell us like all of these things. And I'm going, oh, they don't have the flight attendant. That's a concern, because, how do you not, you would make sure you had this person.
Absolutely.
And I'm going, okay, that tells us that this is not as reported.
By even Amber saying that I heard this before in regards to the breaking of the arm, if I had debunked that the breaking of the arm could not have happened the way she was describing it, it's likely it was also the case as well. It did not happen on this occasion. In regards to this particular incident, that does make me wonder what went on in this particular relationship, because before the Boston plane incident, she alleged 3 separate incidents. We have already been through 2 of them, but this last one is particularly bizarre, because why this incident was being alleged on this particular date is beyond me. She claimed that she was going on. We know what happened with the Camille cross exam.
You also testify that Mr. Depp, again, whacked you in the face after the Met Gala in May of 2014, right?
That is correct.
You testified that you thought he hit you so hard he broke your nose.
That's correct.
You testified you took a picture of your face
She's
after
biting
this.
her lip a lot.
I did.
But you didn't show that picture to the jury, did you?
I would like to.
But you didn't show it, did you?
That's not up to me.
What?
I understand you were under an obligation to produce all photographs after any alleged incident.
Metadata, put it on your bingo
Produce
cards.
everything.
Metadata.
Your nose doesn't appear to be injured in any of these pictures, does it, Ms. Heard?
I'm wearing makeup.
Wow.
Your nose doesn't appear to be injured in any of these pictures, does it, Ms. Heard?
That's why I'm wearing makeup.
She
And
said,
makeup covers up swelling, right?
Makeup will not cover up swelling. Ice will, though.
No, it
ice
No.
will
Ice will cover up swelling?
Ice reduces swelling. Normally, the swelling after that kind of injury is not as bad as you might imagine. And for me, it wasn't that
now
bad.
she's a medical
I have a
expert.
picture of it underneath the makeup. That's how I know how to reference it.
Do you?
A
Where's
picture
the
you haven't produced or shown to
did.
this jury, right, Ms. Heard?
I produced everything.
But you haven't shown it to this jury.
I would very much like to. It's not my job.
Talk to your counsel.
ma'am.
Is it a doctored photo? Is that the problem?
Madam,
It
may
was
we
not
approach?
admitted?
Yes.
Your Honor, may we approach? Holy. She is sitting here testifying that she produced things her counsel is unwilling to produce. Can we go into this?
You can't let her imply to the jury that this favorable evidence for her exists, but her lawyers simply are choosing not to produce it.
Right, because it also casts an implication on Camille and her team, because they could produce it if they had it.
Right.
And they could criticize the picture.
She's suggesting they have the photo because she produced everything.
Yep.